This is Black Shy Guy. How you doing? Thanks for sitting at my table once again. We're going to have a different approach to a video I'm going to talk about today. Something that happened to a lieutenant. Thank God it was nothing fatal, but it was still very it was a bad situation. It's a bad situation dealing with officers on a traffic stop, a routine traffic stop that basically escalated to something more. We got two gentlemen's opinions that talk about this situation. It's two gentlemen I really highly respect. One is Officer Tatum and the other is Amazing Lucas. Usually they both have different opinions when it comes to situations that deal with police officers. Officer Tatum was a police officer, so obviously he's gonna have a little bit more of I won't say favoritism toward the cops, because he is rational towards the videos. I mean, everybody makes opinions that you don't fully agree with. I don't fully agree with all his takes. And Amazing Lucas is the same. He usually seems to be against the cops, but Amazing Lucas also brings up a lot of good points, and both of these gentlemen are very intelligent. They're both intelligent. They can always keep up a debate. They always hold their own, but unfortunately they always seem to be bumping heads with their opinions about a situation when it involves a cop, a shooting, or a traffic stop. Whatever the case may be, as long as it involves an officer, their opinions never seem to mesh. And we have a situation here where Officer Tatum is giving his opinion about this routine traffic stop. Once again, please go to Officer Tatum's page and watch all his videos. I'm gonna watch this antics and tax because I do not want to disrespect his content. His content is amazing, and I really think you should go check out his video. And also, Amazing Lucas's content is very amazing. You should go check out his video. They don't call him Amazing Lucas for nothing. He's very intellectual. You can get a lot of good opinions coming his way. You know what I mean? And you can learn a lot from both of these gentlemen. And I really would like to see both of these gentlemen join forces, but obviously with their difference in opinion, that's not going to happen. So let's take a look at Officer Tatum's video. Officer Tatum does talk about a situation that happened to Officer Jarrett, which is why he pleads his case behind that. There's a reason why he pleads his case behind that situation, because Officer Jarrett, right, makes a routine stop on a gentleman who was also from from the Army. I don't know if he was a Navy officer, an Army, a Marine, or whatever the case may be, but he makes a routine stop. I mean, if you know the whole situation concerning this, you can put it down in the comments. But basically, Officer Tatum explains the situation behind this video because it further pushes his debate concerning the routine stop with the lieutenant. Okay? Basically, this officer makes a routine stop. The officer is nice about it and everything. He knows the guy is carrying or whatever, but it turns deadly. Okay? It turns deadly. It turns deadly. The guy basically ends up shooting. Oh my God. The guy ends up shooting the officer dead. Right? Takes the rest of the officers on a high-speed chase, and they end up killing him. Basically. You know what I mean? They end up killing him. But Officer Tatum pleads his case here because he's about to show the video of the lieutenant being stopped by these cops, okay? And I'm also going to give my opinion about it, okay? But Officer Tatum goes into the video. He says he always has a lot of wisdom before he goes into his videos. I really recommend that you go check out his video.
Get in your mind as we watch this next video, because I don't want anybody.
He talks about this video.
Now I don't know if they're going to show this part. Right? I could have sworn they had the beginning, but regardless, I'm gonna put you where we're at right now, because people see the start of this video and they haven't put anything in context.
Okay. This situation starts right here. Officer Tatum is basically saying that this guy drove too far. All right, this guy basically, let me pause it. This guy basically drove 2 miles before he decides to stop. The police were basically behind this guy for 2 miles before he decided to stop. The story is he wanted to get into a lit area, okay? He wanted to get into a lit area because he didn't feel safe. With all the situations going on with police, I can understand that. I can understand that because I'm not gonna lie, if I'm in a dark area and with all the situations going on with police, you don't know what type of cop is gonna stop you. So if I was in this situation, I definitely probably would have gone into a more lit area. But I'm going to add a real big but here, okay? Because the cops were wrong starting here, okay? And I understand what Officer Tatum is saying. You know what I mean? But there was no reason to escalate the situation already. You know what I mean? There's no reason. To me, they basically escalated it because the guy drove 2 miles. I think that's why they escalated the situation and drew handguns and pointed it at the lieutenant, okay? Which is, he's in his car, okay? But the lieutenant, to me, made a lot of mistakes also. He made a lot of mistakes, which Lucas did not go into his mistakes because I think both the cop and the lieutenant was wrong. But who was wrong first? If you want to play tick attack, the cops were wrong first by escalating the situation already. So Tatum goes and basically says,
later they found out that it was in the top window, but it's still against the law because it has to be visible from the rear and has to be lit where a police officer can see it and easily identify it.
The license plate was at the top right window right there. You know what I mean? The license right here. It was right here. I mean, it's hard to see, obviously, because it's tinted. You know what I mean? So it was a mistake by the officers. It was a mistake by the officers. I mean, it was a mistake by them. Unfortunately, a very bad mistake, okay? Because the license, he did end up having a license plate. The vehicle was not illegal to be on the road. It was legal, okay? So the cops draw their guns, okay? The cops draw their gun. Already, when they come out of here and he stops, they draw the gun and they tell him to get out, all right? So Officer Tatum continues after.
He never stopped for a mile and a half, according to the police officer on his...
Never stopped for a mile and a half. But for me, for my opinion in this part, for good reason. For good reason. You don't want to stop in a dark area because in today and age, you don't know what type of cop is stopping you. That's one thing I don't agree with Officer Tatum with because I understand what he's saying. But in some situations, there are bad cops. There are bad cops out there. And if you're in a very dark area, you don't know what they'll try to plant on you or try to say that you try to do. So I understand this, gentleman. I mean, drive into a well-lit area, a well-occupied area where there's other witnesses around, and you're covered. You know what I mean? You're covered.
His body on camera. He drove a mile and a half without...
So what does that do?
Yes. On a put your hands out of the windows. It's very y'all can hear it, I can hear it.
So the officers, like I said, they drew their guns. They told the gentleman to get your hands out the window. They want to see his hands. They want to make sure that he has no access to any weapons. I don't know whether they're gonna approach the vehicle after he sticks his hands out or what, but they want to see his hands. So obviously they're going to approach after you show your hands. They're going to approach the vehicle because they can see your hands. This is where the officers was wrong, but then in turn, the lieutenant is wrong, especially you being in the Army and you used to taking orders. Despite the cops being wrong, for the sake of your life, for the protection of your own future, your own self, your well-being, just stick your hands out the window. Just stick your hands out the window. You know, even if you know the cops are wrong, let's get the situation handled as quick as possible and as safely as possible. And just stick your hands out the window. Just stick your hands out the window. You know what I mean? Stick your hands out the window. And they can approach safely. Boom, bomb. They ask for your license and registration. They'll find out that the vehicle has a plate on the top right-hand corner of the rear of the window. And everything would have been handled. But the gentleman does not obey any orders from the police, so it even gets hairier, okay?
Turn the vehicle off. Put your hands out the window. I can't tell.
At this point, don't look like he's doing any of what the...
He's not doing any of the commands. Officer Tatum is basically saying the gentleman's not listening, okay? And from what Lucas was saying in that point...
show us your hands, but open the door. Show us your hands, but open the door. He can't go into his, to unbuckle his seatbelt, right?
So a lot of you already seen this video, obviously. So if you're hitting my video concerning this situation, you already know what happened. The officers basically was telling the guy, show his hands, and it escalated to the point that they sprayed the guy and they maced the guy. They freaking pepper sprayed the guy. You know what I mean? They pepper sprayed the guy, and Lucas is basically saying that how can he do any of the orders that you're commanding him to do if you're basically continuing to shout the same order to say, hey, raise your hands, keep your hands where I can see them, but then you tell him, open the door. So what you want him to do, open the door, or just keep his hands in front of him so you can see it? So I understand what Lucas is saying, but what Lucas is not, to me, in my opinion, what Lucas is not understanding is, and once again, Lucas is a very, very intelligent individual. But in my opinion, after seeing that video that Officer Tatum showed in the beginning, when that officer was polite and didn't do any of the tactics that these cops were doing to protect themselves, if that cop in the beginning of Officer Tatum's video did what these guys did, he wouldn't have been shot like that. He wouldn't have been killed. So that is the difference. You see, they're coming from two different realms. They're coming from two different... it's like Officer Tatum is coming from the Matrix and Lucas is coming from the other world. You know what I mean? It's just, you know what I mean. The thing is, to me, what Lucas is not understanding is, if the guy, despite the cops being wrong, would have just obeyed the orders after they stopped him to put his hands out the window, to step out of the vehicle in some way, I don't know, use your feet, because that's what I don't understand what the officer's telling him to open the door, but yet you want to see his hands. So if he goes to open the door, you know what I mean? If he goes to open the door, you can't see his hand, the hand in which he's opening the door with. So what you're gonna say? You're gonna say I couldn't see his hand, so I shot because he was reaching for something? You just told him to open the door. So that's where I understand what Lucas is saying, which is what Officer Tatum to me doesn't get. That aspect of it. You know what I mean? That's why the guy was saying, I'm not stepping out of the car, or whatever the case may be. If I was that guy, I would have said, listen, you want me to show my hands and open the door? I can't do both. What do you want me to do? Can you open the door for me so I can get out? Because I do not want to try to open the door and you guys think I'm reaching for something. That's what I would have done. So let's rewind. Like when the cops right here in the beginning pulled me over, I'm picturing me, pulled me over, and I know these guys are wrong. I know they're wrong, but when they tell me to put my hands out the window, I would have pulled my hands out the window. And while I put my hands out the window, now they can approach safely because they can see my hands out the window. And if they would have told me, hey, now get out of the vehicle, I would have told them what I just told you guys. I would have said, hey, can you open the door? Because I don't want to make you think that I'm reaching for something. And also, I am a CCWL. I do have a CCWL. I do have license to carry. And I always keep my gun underneath the steering wheel in a holster. You know what I mean? So, I know that they can see my gun once they look over my driver's side window. So, of course, I'm not going to reach to try to open the door because they're going to think I'm going for that gun. And once again, I am licensed to carry. I don't carry illegally. So, in that aspect, that's why I would have said, listen, I'm a CCWL holder. My gun is right underneath the steering wheel in a holster. What do you want me to do? You want me to show you my hands, but I don't want to open the door for the simple fact that my gun is below the steering wheel. Obviously, the conversation would have gone way different. I would have basically announced that I am a CCW carrier before it even went to all of that. But that's neither here nor there concerning this situation. What I'm saying is, despite both of these guys making points, they do have their negatives. I understand what Officer Tatum is saying, and I understand what Amazing Lucas is saying.
That would make sense. If you wanted to show us your hand, well, I can't go. I'm only going to show you one hand to get my seatbelt. I can only show you one hand to open the car door. Okay?
Exactly.
So, but the message, this is very much a setup. And this man who is in this car,
I don't think it's a setup. I think Lucas is reaching here. I don't think it's a setup. That's just assumptions there. I don't think it's a setup. I don't think these guys are trying to kill this man. I don't think these cops are going, let's make him reach the door. Let's make him somehow go for the door so we can kill him. That's reaching. That's reaching. I really don't think these cops are killers like that. You know what I mean? Because when you see what happened afterwards, the conversation they had, when they both was calmed down, when everything de-escalated, they both of them, the lieutenant and the cop, despite the fact that the lieutenant is suing them, they both had a rational conversation after everything has happened, and they both basically, the cops did apologize or whatever. A lieutenant didn't apologize. He had great reason not to apologize because, like I said, the cops did start the stop wrong after they got out of the vehicle when he stopped after 2 miles. The cops were wrong at the jump when they withdrew their guns and pointed it at him when nothing was escalated. At that point, nothing was escalated for them to withdraw their guns. You know what I mean? So, but once again, go look at Officer Tatum's video at the beginning. Like I said, if that cop would have done what these cops did in the beginning, that cop would have still been alive. So who knows? Who knows what situations these cops came from? You know what I mean? You don't know what the cops went through before they did this stop. You know what I mean? They probably had a shootout last week that started out like the same scenario that happened here, so they're being more careful, trying to learn from their last mistake. You don't know what happened. It's trying to see from both sides. But I don't think these cops are killers like that. I think he's reaching here, despite Amazing Lucas being an amazing person. I think he's reaching here.
Lieutenant Nazario, very intelligent to stay in his car. This man, active duty lieutenant of the Army, says that he is scared.
You received an order.
I understand he was scared. Okay, I understand he was scared. I disagree with that. If you were scared, you would have immediately just listened to orders because you know the aftermath of everything that's been happening with the police lately. You know the aftermath of disobedience. So if you were that scared, you would have just listened to whatever they said. To me, that's my opinion. Put it down in the comments if you disagree with me. If you were that scared, you would have immediately just listened to whatever they had to say and been like, you know what? I know what happens to the last guy when he didn't listen. So you know what? I'm just going to listen here and see what happens. Let's see if I come out of this alive. You know what I mean? Because you know what happens already when you disobey. So if you're that scared, why disobey? So I disagree with that.
Obey. Yeah, you should be. Get out.
That's the thing, and the cops were completely wrong here. He's pointing a gun at the gentleman. Obviously, you see he's not a threat. You see he has a uniform, and this I'm not even gonna bring up the uniform because once again, former Marine did kill a cop, so I'm not even gonna bring up the uniform. Let's just keep it as the individual, okay? As the individual. Obviously, you see the guy has his hands up. There's no reason for you to keep your gun in his face. It doesn't even matter. I mean, when you have a gun pointing at a gentleman, and I'm assuming it's chambered. I'm assuming there's one in the chamber. Obviously, you're not gonna be chambered approaching a vehicle if you think it's that much of a threat and you don't got the gun chambered. So obviously, there's one in the chamber in this gun. I mean, you could have mistakenly even shot him right there. I mean, if you're the one approaching the vehicle, Why not have your gun put away and this gentleman keep his gun drawn at him while you're handling taking him out of the vehicle? You know what I mean? So I think it was all wrong. I mean, like I said, both parties were wrong in their own way. This could have been done much more safely, and the lieutenant could have de-escalated the situation if he just would have obeyed in the jump when he's seen the guns drawn. When anybody is pointing a gun at you, and you have, especially when it's a cop, just obey. Because right there, you do not want to put your life in jeopardy. This is what I don't understand. When a gun is being pointed at you, why go against the odds? Why not just go with it and hopefully everything ends up squared and you're out of there with your life? I don't understand that, but let's continue. He's calling him a pig or whatever. I have a lot of friends that are cops, so I disagree with that also.
Imagine how low it must be for these two knuckle-dragging pigs
they are knuckleheads,
to be able to have a firearm, okay, and to point it at an innocent civilian.
He is right there. Like I said, the guy pointing the gun at the individual, obviously one is in the chamber. You could have accidentally shot him, for God's sakes. And just to find out, he was a guy who served our country with honor. Obviously, he's not discharged, but obviously he served our country with honor, and you do this to him. It's kind of embarrassing. Let's fast forward.
People who want to scream about and virtue signal over the Second Amendment are the same people who are just talking about, well, just comply. Make that make sense, because it doesn't to me. I'm going to tell you this.
I'm going to say something about that, and I'm going to say something because, like I said, I'm a licensed carrier, okay? When the cops pull you over, and I've been pulled over, like I said, I'm a licensed carrier. When the cops pull you over, just comply. You're not. This is why I disagree with Lucas. You're not gaining anything by going against them and being belligerent and being disobedient, because it might get you killed. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, yes, the training is all wrong these days. The training is all wrong these days. Okay, it's just all wrong. The training. But what I'm saying is, you're not gaining anything by disobeying and going against the cops, okay? You're not. All you're doing is escalating a situation and making it worse. If you know the cops are wrong, listen to me. If you know the cops are wrong, just follow directions anyway. And when you're out of there, sue their asses. Just sue them. Just sue them. Bam, you win. Even if they're wrong, you're not doing anything or anyone a favor by fighting them. And like Officer Tatum says, you're not doing anything by basically trying to turn the curb into a court case. You know what I mean? You're not doing anything. I mean, all you're gonna do is escalate the situation. Make the cops draw their weapons if it's not drawn already. But if it's drawn already, they're gonna either shoot you, you're gonna be dead, and then what? And then what? You know what I mean? What I don't, when Lucas says bootlickers, I don't think everybody, especially me, I'm not a bootlicker. What I'm saying is, even if it's my family being pulled over, I will always tell them, the first thing you do is try to de-escalate and make the cops feel comfortable. You do not want to irritate them. You do not irritate them. That's the wrong word. You do not want to make them feel uncomfortable. Don't make them feel uncomfortable. And your life wouldn't be on the line. And thank God I have no family member that is an outlaw, criminal, whatever the case may be. But I'm assuming all my family members are gonna obey. You know what I mean? But I mean, just obey. Just obey. You're not getting anything to go against the cops or to be belligerent or to even fight when they're trying to put you in handcuffs. What are you going to gain by that? You're going to get either tasered, and God forbid, like what happened to the other kid that just happened a couple of days ago, you're either going to get shot by mistake. You know what I mean? It's a crazy world out there. It's a crazy world out there. But I understand Officer Tatum's take. And I understand Lucas's take. Officer Tatum is basically saying, just listen. Just listen. Just listen to the cops. And I 100% agree with Officer Tatum with that. Just listen to the cops. When they tell you to pull over, when they tell you to put your hands out, when they tell you to get out of the vehicle, when they try to put you in handcuffs, just abide by it. Because when all is said and done and they're wrong, you can sue their asses. You can sue them. But you got your life. You got your life. But if you go against them and you fight them, be belligerent, try to take their gun or try to take their taser, you're going to get shot and you're going to lose your life. And nobody wins. Not your family, not you. You know, not your babies that you leave behind. And obviously not the cops, because I'm assuming, I'm going to say some, because I know a lot of people are going to come in with comments saying not all cops are good. Yes, I understand not all cops are good. Absolutely. But some cops that are good, they don't want that. They don't want to shoot you. They don't want to shoot you. The same amount of videos you can look at cops being really belligerent and wanting to shoot people, you can find the same amount of videos of really good cops just trying to do a routine traffic stop and getting the hell out of there. So, despite both of these gentlemen making their case, and both of them sound knowledgeable towards their opinions, both of them are wrong in certain aspects. You know what I mean? They're both wrong. They're both wrong in certain aspects, but they're both right also in some cases. They're both right in some cases. You know what I mean? I agree with Officer Tatum that you should listen to the cops, period. When they tell you to get out, when they tell you to put your hands behind your head, just listen. Just listen until everything is over and then you can sue them. I think Lucas is right, and a lot of times the cops are wrong or whatever. The cops are wrong or whatever, and that you don't. Sometimes you do have a right to question why they're stopping you. You know what I mean? You do have a right to question why they're stopping you. But the minute it comes to commands and they tell you, put your hands on the steering wheel, whatever the case may be, just listen. And while you're doing that and being obedient, tell them, hey, why you're stopping me for, etc., etc., and it can go on by that. But then the thing is, it's going on while everything is de-escalated. You know what I mean? While everything is de-escalated. I do agree with Lucas in some cases, and I don't agree with him in some. I don't agree with the fact that the guy shouldn't have immediately got out of the car. He should have got out of the car. He should have just listened or whatever. He should have just listened, because everything would have been escalated. But those cops, I have to admit, those cops were wrong in a lot of cases. Those cops were not professional enough. They were not professional. Spraying them in the face when they already found out that he was not a threat, and giving mixed commands. Hey, put your hands where I can see them, but yet you want him to open the door, where obviously if he goes to open the door, you can't see his hands. So it's a lot, like, and I agree with Officer Tatum and Lucas that training needs to be involved with these cops. You know what I mean? And like I said, I have a lot of cops here that I'm friends with, because I do a lot of accident calls with them, etc. And a lot of them are good cops. You know what I mean? A lot of them are good cops. And there you have it. There you have it. I believe this video is pretty long. I apologize for that. But I really recommend you go to Amazing Lucas's channel and you go to Officer Tatum's channel and make your own decision about who's more wrong and who's more right. You know what I mean? And who you really agree with. But in all, make your own decision. Make your own decision. You know what I mean? Because like I said, in some cases, Officer Tatum is right. In some cases, Lucas is right. In some cases, both of them are wrong. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But all in all, I do watch both of these channels. Both of the channels are great. I love both of them. I watch their channels continuously. I love Amazing Lucas. I love his ideas. I love his opinions, and I love Officer Tatum's opinions also. I love the fact that he's strong with them also. And it is what it is. I mean, go check their channels out, and you can check my channels out. You can check my channel out. I talk about different situations in life, and I also talk about UFC fights or whatever the case may be. I also talk gaming. But I'm Black Shy Guy. Thanks for sitting at my table. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Hit the subscribe button for any upcoming new videos. again, thanks for sitting at my table. I'm Black Jagger. I'm out of here. Peace.